Well, we all know it's going to be a busy offseason for the Philadelphia 76ers, and today we are back with our first sprinkle of trade rumors. That is right. Could a defensive specialist for the Sixers be on the move sometime soon? We will break it all down on today's show. Let's go. Perfect. What is going on, everybody? RB here. Welcome into the show. Like always, be sure to like the video, subscribe for more content, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any of these videos or live streams. We have a lot of upcoming content, and you're going to want to stay up to date, of course. But today we are back, and that's right. We have our first dash of trade news and rumors here in the 2022 offseason, and it involves someone you might not expect right out of the gate. Could he be on the move? That is Sixers forward Matisse Thybulle, defensive specialist. Before we talk about what was put out to the public, I just want to say, watching some of these playoff games, the Celtics, the Heat, we were even live for one of the games. The Sixers need guys who are dynamic. They need guys on both sides of the ball. We're going to be talking about this more in an upcoming live stream. So again, be sure to, keep your eyes out for that. But the Sixers need dynamic guys. They need dogs. They need guys to surround guys like Joel Embiid with, Tyrese Maxey. They need 3-and-D guys, rebounders, athletic wings. That is something they have lacked for a while, and they definitely need to make strides this offseason. And Matisse Thybulle, it seems like he could eventually be that, but we're at this point, guys, where it's like, we don't really have a lot of wiggle room. As you know, and I know, this Sixers fan base organization, the players were all deprived of a championship, and we're trying to get to that level. We need to break through that threshold, get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and the way we do that is by upgrading our team significantly, and it's time to make it happen, man. And at this point, you look at the bench, you look at some of the guys on this roster, everybody's expendable to me except for Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. There have been some rumors lately even about Maxey getting moved. I don't think that'll happen, but some major strides need to be made this offseason, and who knows, it could start with Matisse Thybulle. So the news coming out yesterday, as you can see this post on Twitter, the Chicago Bulls have interest in trading for Sixers forward Matisse Thybulle per Sean Deveney. And he says the Bulls general manager, Mark Eversley, is a big fan of Matisse Thybulle. And going even further, there was actually an article put out by Sean Deveney, who covers the NBA. And this is what he had to say, quote, "The Sixers could look to get off Thybulle's contract to create some wiggle room under the luxury tax," which, by the way, I believe at the current time, we are $4.4, I think it is, $4 million over the luxury tax. Matisse Thybulle's contract is around $4 million, I believe, maybe upwards a little bit more. So it could end up matching well. And he says this, which looms large over the team's offseason, and one team with known interest, according to sources, is Chicago. Bulls GM Mark Eversley has had a fondness for Thybulle going back to early in his collegiate career at Washington, and was instrumental in pushing the Sixers to acquire him in the 2019 draft. And then, quote, "A deal would likely require a third team if Philly's goal is to save money under the tax, but the Bulls would be a strong suitor if Thybulle is available." Okay, so first and foremost, Mark Eversley, if you don't know, actually was with the Sixers organization for 4 years. He was VP of player staff, and I think he left a couple years ago in 2019. So that's kind of what Sean was alluding to in his piece. He has experience. He has some of the ties with this organization, and he was part of the drafting process apparently. And, he wanted Matisse Thybulle. I do remember hearing that before as well. And obviously now he's trying to get a bunch of players in Chicago. They've made moves the last couple years, right? Trying to get a lot of new heads in there and push themselves. And they have definitely struggled on the defensive side of the ball. Now, Matisse Thybulle, you think about a guy like him, who has now been in the league for 3 years. And, he was very special. He was, brand new. He was a glimpse, and it was just kind of like, holy crap. And I've said it repeatedly over time, like, this is one of the best young defenders, maybe one of the best I've ever seen at age 23, 24. And there's no denying that the skill he possesses is so valuable. But at the end of the day, to be a very quality player in this league, to be a high IQ type of guy, to be a guy who can contribute, especially late in the season, we're coming to find out you need to be doing a little bit of everything. You need to at least be showing it on both sides of the ball, unless you're a star. Maybe you're a star defensive player. Maybe you're a star scorer. Matisse Thybulle can be a star defensive player, but there are a couple issues with that, right? Number one, he fouls a lot. Number two, he gets a little bit non-aggressive at times, and he kind of backs off, especially because he does get into foul trouble. And, his shooting has just not improved at all. And I've been a guy who's been huge on Matisse Thybulle, but as I have mentioned before in the past, I think we are at this point, guys, where you have to give us something. You have to give us something. I mean, in this second round series, obviously Thybulle couldn't play in Toronto, and that kind of threw him out of the loop. But it's weird, like, he dropped off so quick at the end of the regular season. Now, I do want to state, with Matisse Thybulle's drop-off in the last couple months, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's likely Matisse Thybulle gets traded. I could definitely see Daryl holding on to him, if not to try to improve him, to get his value back up a little bit, because we've seen that with other players as well. But, Daryl Morey, he needs to make a decision here, because Matisse Thybulle's future is definitely a big one that could impact this team. If Thybulle just stays the one-dimensional defensive stud that he is, I mean, it's not going to pay dividends in the long term for the Sixers, because as we know best, when you get to the playoffs, you have to be able to shoot. Going back to the second round series against Miami, that was just pitiful. I mean, Thybulle made an impact in a game or two on defense, but on the other side, the Heat are literally running away from him as he posts up in the corner, and it's just not good. And we can't survive 4-on-5 in the playoffs. You have to be able to do a little bit of everything. And now you've been in the league 3 years. I personally thought that this year was the year for Matisse Thybulle to take his shot to another level, right? To get in the gym, shoot 1,000 threes a day. And I'm sorry, there's just no more excuses. If we want to get to championship level, we need dogs. Look, if Matisse Thybulle improves his jump shot, I personally believe he could be one of the best 3-and-D players in the league in 5 years. I believe he could win a Defensive Player of the Year, be a impact piece on a championship team. But we have to see it, and we just don't have the time to wait around. So, hopefully he's in the gym. And again, Daryl Morey seems to be a guy with some pride in his moves. And when you think about this whole situation, Daryl Morey did not want to move Matisse Thybulle at the trade deadline. Instead, he opted to move Seth Curry. And in hindsight, it doesn't look like the best move, at least for this past year. Now, maybe in the future, Thybulle gets better and things work out. But at the current time, Daryl Morey elected to hold on to Matisse Thybulle. He would not do the deal if Matisse Thybulle was included. And same thing last year as well. So, Morey believes in Thybulle, and I don't know if he's going to try to trade him at his lowest value, at his lowest point right now. But with the Bulls showing interest, you look at some of the contracts on that team, potentially a piece like a Kobe White, who hasn't necessarily worked out after being a lottery pick for the Bulls. And, he could come into this Sixers bench and he could try to put something up off the bench, right? 8 to 10 a game, maybe something that we could use. But then again, if you're looking at the luxury tax, and like Sean Deveney said, if the Sixers want to stay under that tax and you get another third team involved, could the Sixers end up shipping Thybulle off and maybe collecting a pick and an expiring contract or something like that? I just don't know if it's going to happen. So either way, if it does, I'm actually understanding at this point, and I wouldn't be too mad about it. Because, we've seen it. We've seen it time and time again. And we are now going into year 4. And next year is the year where you have to pay Matisse Thybulle, or you have to go through restricted free agency. And, it just comes down to business. Are you getting it done or not? And we have seen now in back-to-back playoffs, you have not been able to shoot. And we've had other guys, who I will not name, who have gone through the same thing. And we are sick of that. So Matisse Thybulle, what I would advise you to do, again, I still like you. I still like your game. But you're not getting it done. You need to be in the gym shooting 2,000 jump shots a day until it gets better. And the crazy thing is, I've seen the form. I've seen it get better over a year or two. But when it translates to the game situation, it's just not happening. And I just think the Sixers need to, really upgrade and collect a bunch of guys who can knock down threes at a high clip, play defense, and bring the energy. And, we'll talk about this more as we get into our offseason plan, what we're seeing, what we're believing this team will do. And I don't know if Daryl Morey wants to part with Matisse Thybulle at this point, but, a year ago, a lot of us would have said Matisse Thybulle was untouchable. And at this point, it's almost like, well, if it happens, it happens. There are a lot of guys who are expendable, and we really need to take notes and see what is going on around this league. And, if Matisse Thybulle can improve his offensive game, I mean, the writing may be on the wall. The writing may be on the wall, and it seems like the Bulls are interested and like they would have some potential swap for us. I don't really like the idea of keeping them in the conference, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. It really does suck, though, that the Sixers had 2 defensive specialists, and, both of them could be off the team within a couple years, because we're just seeing, especially when you get to the playoffs. I mean, obviously defense matters, but, it seems like we'd much rather have a guy that can knock down 7 threes in a game, that can, get a couple steals. And Matisse Thybulle, like, his steals numbers have stayed up to par, but he just doesn't have that over this last year, over these last couple months. And I think it's because the league is adapting to him more. They're getting him in foul trouble, and they're just kind of, adapting to his game. And that's what happens when you're in the league for a couple years. So as a professional, you have to continue to get better each and every year, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. But definitely some interesting news. Sure, we'll get a lot more bombs as we go on over the next couple of weeks, but those are just my thoughts. I want to hear from you. Would you be all right with trading Matisse Thybulle? What are your thoughts on the situation? Give me your thoughts down below in the comment section. Appreciate you for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And like always, I will catch you on the next one, man. Peace.
Perfect.